Hello, welcome to today's edition of the Daf Yomi. Today's Daf is Nazir Daf 5. And let's dive straight in. So, slightly new format. I'm going to read a study guide to Nazir, which I got from various sources on the internet using Notebook LM. Here's a study guide on the topic of Nazir. Drawing on provide the sources. There's a debate of how often a Nazir Olam, someone who's a Nazir for an indefinite period, can cut their hair. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi believes that this can be done once every 12 months. Deriving this from the laws of redeeming a house sold in a walled city. Rabbi Nahorai believes that it can be done every 30 days. Learning from the laws regarding Kohanim cutting their hair, Rabbi Yossi believes it can be done every week, similar to how sons of kings get haircuts. The length of an unspecified Nazir period where one does not state how long they will be a Nazir is debated. Rav Matana says it lasts for 30 days, using the gematria of the word yeh from the verse, he shall be holy. It's interesting, in number 6.5. Note, the Rosh argues that Rav Matana must have had an independent tradition regarding the length of an unspecified Nazir period, and only use the gematria as an asmachta, as a support. Laws cannot derive solely from gematria. Bar Pada says that it lasts 29 days, based on the number of times the word Nazir and Nizro appear in the Torah. Since the 30th day involves shaving and bringing offerings, it is also referred to as lasting 30 days. Now, the Rosh Leighton notes that Bar Pada's position will be reinterpreted. There are various questions and answers regarding how the opinion of Matana and Bar Pada align with different Mishnah. Mishnah states, the one who says, I'm hereby Nazir shaved on the 31st day, and seems to support Matana's view of a 30-day period. Bar Pada, however, reconciles this by citing another clause in the Mishnah which states that shaving on the 30 days is also valid. He explains that Rabbi's decree that even though it should not specify a time period, should be treated as if they said 30 complete days, requiring shaving on the 31st day. No, this supports Bar Pada's view that the outer length of Nazir period is only 29 days. Rav Matana in turn deals with the Mishnah allowing shaving on the 30th day by using the principle Miksat Hayom Kukulo. A part of the day considered like the whole day. So once the 30th day begins, it is considered completed for the purposes of Nazir. Further challenges arise from Mishnah regarding those who take on 2 consecutive Nazir periods and those who become ritually impure during the Nazir period. The source to provide explanation about how both Rav Matana and Bar Pada can reconcile their views with these cases. And now here are some of the key concepts of the arguments discussed in the sources. The duration of an unspecified Nazirite vow. This is pretty much a repetition of what I've just said. And then there's a little bit here. Absalom as a model for a Nazir Olam. The sources cite the biblical figure of Absalom, son of King David, as an example of a Nazir Olam, a perpetual Nazirite. The sources analyze verses describing Absalom's Nazirite practice to understand the requirements for a Nazir Olam. The main opinion of Absalom's haircut frequency. The sources present a debate regarding how often Absalom cut his hair as a Nazir Olam. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi argues that Absalom cut his hair once every 12 months. He bases on a Gedei Shara type of biblical interpretation connecting similar phrases. He lists the phrase Miketz Yomim LeYomim at the end of days to days in 2 Samuel 14:26, describing Absalom's haircut with the phrase Yomim, days, in Leviticus 25:29-30, used in the context of redeeming a household in a walled city. In the latter case, Yomim clearly refers to a year, thus leading Rabbi Yehuda Nasi to conclude that Absalom also cut his hair yearly. Rabbi Nahorai argues that Absalom cut his hair every 30 days. He draws a parallel between Absalom, whose hair became heavy in 2 Samuel 14:26, and the Kohanim priests who were required to cut their hair every 30 days due to weight. Rabbi Yossi argues that Absalom cut his hair every Friday. He bases it on the custom of Bnei Malachim, sons of kings, who cut their hair weekly before Shabbat. To distinguish Absalom's haircut from a regular haircut, the Gemara suggests that unlike his brothers, Absalom would not cut his hair if a Yom Tov festival fell on a weekday, and would wait until the afternoon on Friday to cut his hair after bringing his carbonic sacrifices. The significance of the 40 years. The sources grapple with the meaning of 40 years mentioned to connect Absalom's rebellion against his father King David. It is known that David only reigned for 40 years, suggesting that Absalom must have rebelled before the end of David's life. Rabbi Naharai, citing Rabbi Yeshua, explains that the 40 years referred to the time elapsed since the Israelites requested a king from the prophet Shmuel. This event marked a turning point in Jewish history and may have informed Absalom's calculation regarding his rebellion. Okay, so let's actually dive straight into the text now. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi derives the meaning of the term Yomim, stated with regard to Avshalom, based on a verbal analogy from the words Yomim that appears in context of houses of walled cities, where it states, for a full year Yomim he shall have the right of redemption in Leviticus 25:29. Just as there, in the case of walled cities, the term Yomim means 12 months, as the verse immediately afterwards, within the space of a full year, Leviticus 25:30. So to here, in the case of Avshalom, the term Yomim means 12 months. A permanent Nazirite may trim his hair with a razor once every 12 months if he becomes too heavy for him, as right in the case of Avshalom. Rambam Sefer Flora, Hilchot Nazirut 3:12. Rabbi Naharai says, Avshalom cut his hair once every 30 days. Achat lishloshim yom. Some explain that the dispute cited in the Braita pertains only to the conduct of Avshalom. However, with regard to the law itself, they all agree that a permanent Nazirite may cut his hair once a month, coming to a Nazir. Others explain it is unlikely that they would have argued only about the case of Avshalom. Rather, the dispute pertains to the halacha of a permanent Nazirite in general, and the case of Avshalom is cited only as evidence, and that's from the Mishnah Lemelech. The statement of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi in the Jewish Talmud seems to support this conclusion. Rabbi Yossi says he cut his hair from one Shabbat Eve to another Shabbat Eve, as we find that the sons of kings cut their hair from one Shabbat Eve to another Shabbat Eve. Also, footnote. Shekain matzinu bivnei melachim. In other words, it is known that the custom of princes is to have their hair cut on a weekly basis. Rabbeinu Azriel cited Mishubes points out that this is referring only to the king's sons, whereas the king himself cuts his hair every day. Other commentaries all add that although the verse states that his hair was too heavy for him, and the hair does not grow that much in a week, since the prince is used to cutting his hair every week, if he would fail to do so, his hair would feel heavy to him. The Gemara asks, what is the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi? He derives the meaning of the verse concerning Avshalom from the verse concerning houses of walled cities. But isn't Rabbi Yehuda Nasi himself who said that one may not redeem his house until it has been in the buyer's possession for at least 2 days, as the word Yomim does not refer to fewer than 2 days? This demonstrates Rabbi Yehuda Nasi understands the word Yomim in the case of walled city houses as referring to a period of 2 days rather than a year. How then can he employ a verbal analogy from houses of walled cities to derive the word Yomim in the case of Avshalom in the case of a period of 12 months? The Gemara answers, he learned this verbal analogy. A verbal analogy. This is a fundamental Talmudic principle of biblical interpretation appearing in all standard lists of exegetical principles. If the same word or phrase appears in 2 places in the Torah and a certain halacha this place is stated in one of these places, it may be inferred on the basis of a verbal analogy that the same halacha must apply in the other case as well. Consequently, the inferences drawn on the basis of verbal analogy rely on the verbal identity rather than on a conceptual similarity. For example, the Torah states, concerning those convicted of certain types of sorcery, shall surely be put to death, they shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them. 20:27. Since this verse uses the expression that blood should be upon them, speaking of the death of stoning, the Talmud infers by verbal analogy that in all cases where the expression is used, capital punishment to be inflicted by stoning. Generally, inferences are drawn to verbal analogy only if the same word or phrase appears in both the verses being compared. Although verbal analogy is occasionally drawn even if the words being compared are not identical, provided that the meanings are similar. Because the verse states that Avshalom would trim his hair due to his weight, in 2 Samuel 14:26, and in 2 days there is no significant weight added to the hair. The term Yomim cannot be understood to mean 2 days in the case of Avshalom. And the Gemara asks, but say that Yomim means 2 years, as it is written, and it came to pass the end of 2 years of days. Yomim, Genesis 41:1. More objectives, we derive the meaning of the term Yomim in a case where it does not have the term years mentioned with it, in the case of Avshalom, from another usage of the term Yomim that does not have the term years mentioned with it, i.e. the verse about houses and walled cities. And this use of the term Yomim does not have the term years mentioned with it, will not prove otherwise. The Gemara asks, but say that Yomim means 30 days, as it is written, but a month of days, Yomim, Numbers 11:20. The Gemara rejects this. We derive the meaning of the term Yomim in a case where it does not have the term months mentioned with it, from the usage, another usage of the term Yomim that does not have the term months mentioned with it. And this usage of the term Yomim that does not have the term months mentioned with it will not prove otherwise. The Gemara asks, but say that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi should have derived the meaning of the term Yomim from here. The daughters of Israel went from time to time, Yom and Yemima, to lament the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days a year, in Judges 11:40. This teaches that the daughters of Israel would go 4 times a year, each time for 1 day, to lament her, in which case Yom and Yemina means once every 3 months. The Gemara rejects this. We derive the meaning of the term Yomim from another use of the term Yomim, and we do not derive the meaning of the term Yomim from a case where the word Yomim is used in conjunction with the term Yemima. The Gemara is a difficulty. And what is the difference between Yomim and Yemima? Did the school of Rabbi Yishmael teach a verbal analogy with regard to leprous houses between the words "and the priest shall return" Vishav, Leviticus 14:39, and the words "priest shall come Uva," Leviticus 14:44? It is derived from this that just as this is the halacha with regard to returning, i.e. the priest returns after 7 days, this is the halacha with regard to coming, which is also after 7 days. Just as the Hebrew words Vishav and Uva can be used in a verbal analogy, certainly 2 words with a less pronounced variation, Yom and Yemima, can be used to teach a verbal analogy. The Gemara responds, this applies only when there are no terms that are identical to it. However, where there are terms that are identical to it, we derive the meaning of a term from the use of the terms that are identical to it, rather than from the use of terms that are merely similar. Some say the reason the halacha is not derived from Yom Yemima is because the time period to which it refers is unclear. From where do we know that they will lament as a daughter once every 3 months at fixed intervals? Perhaps they will lament her for 4 years in irregular intervals. Alternatively, it might have taken place in regular but uneven intervals. Usually after 4 months they would visit 1 time. What does that mean? Abba Yalchin Chad Zimna. The logic here is that they would travel more frequently in the summer, since it is harder to leave the house during the winter months. Other sources do not contain this sentence. And then after 2 months they would visit 1 time, and then they would visit again after a 4-month interval, and again after a 2-month interval. When it was taught in the Brayta, Rabbi Naharai says that Absalom cut his hair once every 30 days. The Gemara explains the basis for this opinion. What is the reason with regard to priests? Matama Gabe Kohanim V'chulu. The early commentators point out that the halacha that priests must cut their hair once a month is not explicitly stated in the Bible, which merely says, and they will not let the locks grow long. They go 44:20. Rather, it is derived through a verbal analogy between a verse pertaining to a priest and one concerning a Nazirite. Tans 17:8. Since an unspecified term of Nazirite is 30 days, it is right that the priest cuts his hair every 30 days. That being the case, why does the Gemara derive that a permanent Nazirite cuts his hair every 30 days based upon the halacha That being the case, why does the Gemara derive that a permanent Nazirite cuts his hair every 30 days based upon the halacha that applies to a priest, rather than deriving this halacha directly from a source, which is in the case of an unspecified term of Nazirite-ship? The halacha is that they must cut their hair every 30 days, is because after that interval there is a noticeable weight to the hair. Here too, in the case of Absalom, there is noticeable weight after this period of time has passed, and it is clear that Absalom cut his hair due to its weight, as is stated, because his hair was heavy on him. Therefore, he pulled it. In 2 Samuel 14:26, it was taught in a Brayta. Rabbi Yossi says Absalom cut his hair from one Shabbat Eve to another Shabbat Eve, as the sons of the King of Kings would cut their hair every Shabbat Eve. The Gemara asks, if so, what difference is there between Absalom, who was a Nazirite, and the rest of his brothers, King David's sons, who also cut their hair once a week? Oh, I didn't finish the last footnote. Tosfot answered that Rabbi Nahari preferred to derive the halacha of a permanent Nazirite from the case of a priest, whose sanctity is also permanent, rather than from the temporary sanctity of an ordinary Nazirite. Other commentators explain that this halacha cannot be derived from a regular Nazirite, since he cuts hair only because his term of Nazirite is completed. Rabbi Nahari must derive the halacha from the case of priests, cut their hair every month despite the fact that they retain their sanctity for longer than a month. Rosh Rabbeinu Peret, Rabbeinu Azriel cited Mishit Mechubes. Another reason given is that cutting the hair of a permanent Nazirite and the cutting hair of a priest, since neither of them entirely shave off their hair. But a Nazirite, however, must shave his entire head. Rabbeinu Tosfot cited Mishit Mechubes. And the next one which I was trying to get to, and the rest of his brothers, what's the difference between Avshalom and the rest of his brothers? I would point out that there's an obvious difference between them, as only Avshalom was required to bring offerings when he cut his hair. He answered that his question is referring to a difference with regard to cutting hair, as the Torah indicates that Avshalom grew his hair longer than most people grew their hair. The Rosh notes that there were other differences even in the manner in which they were permitted to cut their hair. Avshalom was permitted to use only a razor while they were permitted to use scissors. Furthermore, he was allowed only to trim his hair, whereas they were allowed to cut it all off if they so desired. He explained that the Gemara is referring to his brother's usual manner of cutting their hair, since they customarily used a razor and did not cut off all their hair. In regard to observation, Tosfot, that an obvious difference is that only Absalom brought offerings when he cut his hair. The Rosh Rabbeinu Azriel explained that when the Gemara states that Absalom was permitted to cut his hair only in the evening, it means to say that he was permitted to cut his hair only if he had already brought his offerings. David's sons also cut their hair once a week. The Gemara answers, there is a difference between them with regard to a festival that occurs in the middle of the week, as his brothers will cut their hair in honor of the festival, whereas he would not cut his hair. Alternatively, the difference between them concerns cutting hair on the morning of Shabbat Eve. His brother will cut their hair that hour, whereas he would not cut his hair until the evening, shortly before Shabbat. Having mentioned in 4b the verse, and it came to pass at the end of 40 years that Absalom said unto the king in 2 Samuel 15:7, and the Gemara asks, with regard to these 40 years, what is their purpose in this discussion? The verse cannot mean 40 years from the start of David's reign, since David reigned for a total of only 40 years, and it is clear that he continued to reign for a few years after Absalom's rebellion. See 2 Samuel chapter 21. The Tanaim in Seder Olam disagree about the precise date of the rebellion. The Gemara in Tractate Teruma 14b to 15a states that David had reigned for 37 years before Absalom's rebellion, but the early commentaries cite manuscripts of that Gemara that state that he had reigned for 36 years. Commentator Nazir and Tosfot, i.e., to what time period do they refer? The Gemara answers, Rabbi Nahare says in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, he's referring to the end of 40 years. Since the Jewish people requested for themselves a king in the days of Shmuel, see Samuel 1, chapter 8. The verse mentions this day because Absalom knew that his father was destined to reign for 40 years, as he did, but he mistakenly thought that these 40 years should be counted from the inception of the monarchy among the Jewish people, and commentator Nazir. Other commentators explain that the Jewish people's request for a king constituted a rebellion against God, or rebellion against the rule of Samuel the prophet, who served as judge over the Jewish people. Consequently, the verse links us as a revolt to the original rebellion of the Jewish people from Rosh Rabbeinu Peretz. Alternatively, the verse dates the rebellion in the king from the time of the inception of the institution of Jewish monarchy, Rabbeinu Peretz citing Tosfot, as it was taught that the year when they requested for themselves a king was the 10th year of leadership of Samuel the Ramathite. Mishnah. In the case of an unspecified Naziriteship, where one does not state how long he wishes to be a Nazirite, the term lasts for 30 days. One who takes the Nazirite vow without further specification becomes a Nazirite for 30 days. One Sefer Flah Hilchot Nazir 1:1. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived? Only Rav Matana provides an answer to the Gemara's question. Since Balpada's opinion that an unspecified term of Naziriteship is 29 days contradicts the halacha stated in the Mishnah, all the explanations of the Mishnah's ruling are offered in Jewish Talmud. One explanation links the Yomim stated with regard to Nazirite to the Yomim stated in the context of a beautiful captive woman, Deuteronomy 21:13, which refers to 30 days. Term may be derived from the verse that states with regard to Nazirite on the day when the days of his consecration are complete, Numbers 6:13, since only a month can be complete in days, and a month can be either 30 or 29 days in Jewish calendar, see 6b. And the unspecified Naziriteship is 30 days. In answer to this question, Rav Matana is among the second generation of Amorim in Babylonia. He was one of the important disciples of Shmuel, as we find his teacher asking him for help understanding a certain point. Rav Matana also quotes teachings in the name of Rav. For a while he lived in the city of Paponia, where he occupied himself with the dissemination of Torah. Third generation Amoraim quote halachic and rabbinic teachings in his name, and there are also teachings in his name in Midrashim from Eretz Yisrael. Said, the verse states with regard to Nazirite, he shall be year holy, Numbers 6:5. The numerical value, the gematria of the letters of the word year is 30. derived from the Greek gematria, which means measurement or calculation in general, although the term was later designated for a specific type of calculation, geometry. In the rabbinic literature, it also refers to mathematical calculation in general, although it's mostly referred to tabulating the numerical values of the letters in a word. In the Rambam's commentary on the Mishnah, it is explained that according to Rabbi Tana, this halacha is learned through a tradition transmitted to Moses from Sinai, and he is merely providing support for it with a hint from the word's numerical value. The Rosh likewise explains that this proof is merely support. Calculated numerical value of words is not included in the list of the 13 exegetical principles to which the halacha are derived from the Torah. It is only one of these 32 exegetical principles that Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Yossi, used to learn Agada. See Rabbi Yoshi's comment cited in the Gemara in 6b. Bapada, who's Bapada? Bapada is the sage Rabbi Yehuda ben Padilla, the son of Bar Kokhba's sister. He was among Rabbi Yehuda Nazir's younger disciples. Rabbi Yehuda ben Padilla was among the sages of the south, living in the region of Judea. He may have lived in the town of Lod. All of the great second and third generation Amorim in Eretz Yisrael studied under his tutelage, and some of his teachings are quoted by the sages such as Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. His contributions to Allah and Agada are found throughout both the Babylonian Jerusalem Talmud and in Midrashim. Said, the number of days of an unspecified Nazirite corresponds to the number of appearances of the word Nazirite, his Nazirite. It is explained in the commentary on Nazir that this list includes not only the word Nazirite and his Nazirite, but also terms vow and his vow whenever they appear in the chapter. The full list of these terms are mentioned in the commentary on Nazir and in great general in the Meiri. These terms actually appear 30 times in the chapter, but the verse, because his consecration Nazir to God is upon his head, number 6-7, it is not included in the list, since the meaning in context is crown and not Nazirite, as seen in the Targum Onkelos commentary on Nazir Tosfot. The fact that these terms appear 30 times is also raised in Jewish Talmud, which explains that one usage of the term Nazirite is needed in order to state the chapter is referring to a Nazirite, and all the other times that appear are to teach the length of a specified term of Nazirite, a similar term is stated in Torah in the chapter of Nazirite, Numbers chapter 6, 30 less 1 times. So 2 on a specified term of Nazirite is 29 days. The Gemara asks, and Rav Matana should also derive from the number of times that the word Nazirite and Nazirite appear to conclude that Bapada, an unspecified Nazirite, lasts for 29 days. The Gemara answers, Rav Matana could have said to you that word is needed for a specific exposition. The words he shall abstain Yazir from drinking strong wine and strong drink, number 6-3, comes to prohibit a Nazirite from drinking wine that is consumed for a mitzvah, just to be prohibited from drinking wine whose consumption is optional. Likewise, the words, when either man or woman shall clearly utter a vow, the vow of a Nazirite, to consecrate himself, number 6-2, teach that one vow of Naziriteship takes effect, whereas another vow of Naziriteship already exists. One who takes 2 Nazirite vows must observe a term of Naziriteship for 30 days, whereupon he cuts his hair, brings his offering, and then proceeds with the second term of Naziriteship. This is the case where he declared his 2 vows on one occasion or at separate time, and that's in Rambam Sefer Hilchot Nazirit 1:6-10. For example, if one takes a vow by stating, I will be a Nazirite today, and then repeats the vow, he must observe 2 periods of Naziriteship. Consequently, since sometimes the word Nazirite in its different forms appears in order to serve as the source in a particular exposition, the number of times it occurs does not indicate the length of an unspecified term of Naziriteship. Ba'apada could have said to you that although some of these verses are required for an exposition, is there not at least one of them that is not used for an exposition? Although halachot are derived from some occurrences of the words Nazirite and Naziriteship, there is at least one occurrence that does not teach any halacha, and can therefore be assumed that just as that word presumably appears in order to teach the number of days in a period of unspecified Naziriteship, even the words that serve as the source of other halachot would indicate the length of an unspecified Naziriteship. Rabbeinu Perez explains that since the expositions for all of the terms are not unknown, It is unreasonable to assume that all the words are used for derivations, but those derivations are not commonly known. It is far more plausible to assume that some of these words appear in order to indicate the number of days in an unspecified Nazirite. It is also impossible to count only the superfluous words, since one or more of them might be expounded in a manner unknown to us. Therefore, all words must be included in an unspecified term of Nazirite. In addition to the specific halacha that derived from the Gemara, analyzed the opinions of Matana and Bar Papa in light of the Mishnah and relevant Baita. We learned in the Mishnah an unspecified Nazirite ship lasts for 30 days. Granted, according to Matana works out well. However, according to Bar Papa, it is difficult, since in his opinion the Mishnah should have stated that an unspecified Nazirite ship lasts for 29 days. The Gemara answers, Bar Papa could have said to you the principal days of Nazirite ship are 29 days. However, since there is the 30th day when the Nazirite shaves his hair and brings his offering, prohibitions of Nazirite should remain in effect on that day until he brought these offerings. Due to that reason, Tanam teaches that the unspecified Nazirite should last for 30 days. Gemara asks, we learned in the Mishnah 16a, one who said, I am hereby a Nazirite, shaved his hair on the 31st day. Granted, according to Rav Matana, this works out well, since one must finish his term of Nazirite which lasts for 30 days before he can shave his hair. However, according to Bar Papa, it is difficult. Why doesn't he shave his hair on the 30th day? The Gemara answers, Bar Papa could have said to you in response, say the latter clause of that Mishnah, if he shaved his hair on the 30th day, it fulfills obligation. It indicates the Nazirite itself lasts for only 29 days. Rather, the latter clause of that Mishnah certainly supports his opinion. As for the first clause, the reason a Nazirite must wait until the 31st day in order to shave his hair, and he shows as follows. Since one who specifies that he is becoming a Nazirite for 30 complete days may shave his hair only on the 31st day, it says the rule that even one who did not specify a time period becomes like one who said explicitly that he will be a Nazirite for 30 complete days. Nasa ka'oma shleiman. Nevertheless, since he himself did not say that he would accept the Nazirite for 30 complete days, if he shaved his hair on the 30th day, he fulfills his obligation to come to a Nazir. That's for the Narosh explained that according to Bar Papa, one who does not accept the principle that part of the day is like the entire day, even if one said that he is accepting Nazir for 30 days and he did not specify 30 complete days, he may shave his hair only on the 31st day by Torah law. And one mentions a case of one who said that he would Nazir for 30 complete days, only so that it can give the same answer to Matana in the continuation of this discussion. The Rosh explains that the reason for the rabbinic decree is that people are more accustomed to using round numbers such as 30 rather than 29. Similarly, the Torah speaks of 40 lashes and counting 50 days of the Omer. So besides, the number is one less than that, like a Kozirim. Consequently, people are allowed to accept 30-day terms of Nazirite in order to avoid confusion. The sages decree that anyone who accepts an unspecified term of Nazirite or a 29-day term must observe a 30-day term of Nazirite to come to a Nazir. Consequently, he may shave his hair of Nisha only after 30 days have passed. The Gemara asks, and for Rav Matana, the latter clause of the Mishnah is difficult, since it states that one who shaves his hair on the 30th day fulfills his obligation, whereas Rav Matana claims that his Nazirite is not yet complete at that time. The Gemara answers, he holds that the legal state of part of the day is like that of the entire day. Miksas hayom kechulo. With regard to those halachot, the legal state of part of a day is like that of the entire day. For example, with regard to the 7th day of mourning, once a mourner observed the halachah of mourning for the beginning of the day, it is as though he has observed them for the entire day. He is not required to observe the halachah of mourning for the duration of the day. The same is true with regard to the single day of mourning must be observed when one receives the news that his relative died more than 30 days earlier. And that's from Raman Sefer Shovtim Hilchot Evo 723 10.5 Shulchan Aruch Yodeh 402.1.6. That since Bar Papa and Rav Matana agree that the Nazirite must cut his hair on the 31st day of Anisho, if he did so on the 30th day, his first obligation. What is the practical difference between these opinions? Rabbeinu Peretz explains that there is no need to find a practical difference, as they are merely arguing over the source of the halacha. Other commentators explain that they differ with regard to Nazirite who became impure on the 30th day before bringing his offerings. According to Bar Papa, he does not negate the date of Nazirite, since he became impure after the completion of his term, whereas Rav Matana holds that he must start his Nazirite anew. Commenting Nazir, alternatively, Bar Papa holds that he must start his Nazirite again by rabbinic law, whereas Rav Matana holds that he must begin his Nazirite anew by Torah law. Additionally, they disagree with regard to one who explicitly stated that he will be a Nazarite 29 days. According to Pada, in this case, he may cut his hand on the day of Nisha, whereas according to Rav Matana, this is the case with one who takes the Nazarite vow for a shorter period than the minimum amount, and he must complete 30 days. The commentary in Nazir Daf will also add another difference. Since they disagree about whether the legal status of part of a day is like that of an entire day, in any case where one specifies the term of Nazirship of a particular number of days, Rav Matana holds that one can shave his hair on the last day of that term, and Pada holds that one must wait until the following day. It should be noted that an opinion is cited in the Jewish Talmud that claims that according to Rav Matana, one who takes upon himself an unspecified period of Nazirship and cuts his hair on the 30th day has not fulfilled his obligation. Although the term Nazirship is 30 days, once the 30th day begins, it is as though it has been completed, and the Nazirite shaves his hair on that day as fulfilled his obligation. The Gemara asks further. We learned in that same Mishnah, in the case of one who says, I am hereby Nazirite for 30 days, if he shaves his hair on the 30th day, is not fulfilled his obligation. This appears to contradict the opinion of Matana, who holds that part of the day is like the entire day. The Gemara answers, this is referring to one who says that I will be Nazirite for 30 complete days. Since he has said so explicitly, he is not fulfilled his obligation to cut his hair early, commenting on Nazir. Daf will explain that the question cited here in the Gemara does not present a difficulty for the opinion of Pada, because he holds that part of a day is not like the entire day. Consequently, since the individual specified the term of Nazir was to last for 30 days, he did not fulfill his obligation if he shaved his hair on the 30th day. As explained further, according to Rav Matana, even if the individual does not explicitly state that his term of Nazirship will last 30 complete days, that is implied by a statement that his term will last 30 days. Otherwise, it would have been unnecessary for him to specify that his term is 30 days, and an unspecified term of Nazirship is also 30 days. What cites an alternative version of the Gemara text that states is as though he said that his term would be for 30 complete days, in which he certainly does not fulfill his obligation by shaving his hair on the 30th day itself. The Gemara asks further. We learned in that Mishnah one who accepted 2 terms of Nazirite should attain Nazirus. The Rosh explains simply that he is accepting upon himself 2 terms of Nazirite. Rabbi Azriel cited best claims that the same halach applies to one who made 2 consecutive statements such as I am hereby Nazirite, I am a Nazirite. Shaved his hair for the first Nazirite on the 31st day, and shaved his hair for the second term on the 61st day. Granted, according to Rav Matana, this works out well. The Rav Matana Nicha. This is because he maintained that the 31st day from the beginning of the first Nazirite is the first day of the second term, and therefore on both occasions Nazirite shaved his hair on the 31st day, coming into Nazir. Since he shaved his head for the first Nazirite after full 30 days have passed, the second term of Nazirite will commence on that day, which is the 31st day since he took his vows. And then shaved for the second term on the 31st day of his second Nazirite, the 61st day he took his vows. Thank you for listening, and take care. All the best. Bye.